What's up guys and welcome back to my channel. In our first news, Aljamain Sterling believes Merab's resume has already surpassed that of Khabib. He broke down his reasoning during a recent discussion, pointing out that while Khabib is widely regarded as one of the greatest lightweights of all time, there were also long stretches in his career where he wasn't competing against the very best or fighting as frequently. For Aljamain, that matters. When you're not constantly putting yourself out there against top competition, it becomes difficult to say without question that you're the best. Aljamain explained that Merab's title run has essentially mirrored Khabib's, but condensed into a single year. To him, that's something people can't really dispute. In fact, he believes Merab may have even delivered more impressive performances during that run. He pointed to Merab's incredible takedown numbers, emphasizing how quickly he's achieved those milestones compared to what Khabib did over his career. He was also fair in acknowledging that Khabib dealt with injuries, and those setbacks played a role in his fight schedule. But at the same time, Aljamain highlighted that Merab has been able to compete more frequently, which is extremely rare at this level. Not many fighters can maintain that pace. And in this sport, fighting often counts for something. It matters. That consistency builds a stronger case for greatness. Aljamain went further, saying that if you're building a Mount Rushmore of MMA, Khabib's name is obviously there. But so is Merab's, and his title run is almost identical, if not better, in terms of activity and results. He compared the timelines, saying if one guy defends the belt 4 times over 3 years, and another guy does it in 1 year, the one who puts his body on the line more often deserves extra credit. It's about understanding what it takes to stay active at the highest level. He spoke from a fighter's perspective, explaining how much easier it is to sit on the sidelines, recover, and pick your moments, rather than constantly putting yourself through the grind, preparing for one dangerous challenger after another. That pressure, the physical toll, and the lack of recovery time make Merab's consistency even more impressive. Aljamain also brought up Corey Sandhagen as an example of fighters taking risks to evolve. After facing Davison Figueiredo, Sandhagen showed clear improvements in his anti-grappling during his next fight. In the Umar fight, he was taken down multiple times, relying mostly on rolling to defend. But in his most recent performance, he was able to fight hands, get up, and truly defend. That kind of growth only happens when you stay active, take risks, and keep pushing yourself. For Aljamain, Merab embodies that exact mentality. He stays in the fire, fights the best, and doesn't wait for perfect circumstances. That's why, in his eyes, Merab's resume has already surpassed what Khabib accomplished in terms of consistency, activity, and willingness to take on every challenge. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Max Holloway is not on the same page as Tom Aspinall when it comes to fighting friends. Earlier this week, Tom shared that he would be willing to vacate the heavyweight title rather than fight his friend Ante Delija. Delia made his UFC debut last month and immediately made a statement by knocking out Marcin Tybura in the first round. That win pushed him straight into the top 10 of the division, setting him up just a couple of wins away from a potential title shot. Tom explained the situation with full honesty. He said that if he had never touched gold, if he had never won a UFC title, then yes, he and Ante would have to fight because that was his dream. But since he's already accomplished that goal, he feels no pressure to stand in his friend's way. In his words, if it came down to that moment, he'd vacate the belt and let his friend have his time. For Tom, some things are more important than money and titles. He said Ante is one of his genuine friends, someone he truly cares about, and he wouldn't even consider stepping into the octagon against him. Tom made it clear that he's proud of what he's already achieved and believes there's still more for him to accomplish before Ante eventually reaches that level. But if it ever comes to a title scenario, he'd rather step aside than take that fight. He values loyalty and friendship above all else, and for him, this is bigger than business. Max Holloway saw that clip and gave a very different reaction during a recent live stream. Max said straight up that he'd absolutely fight a friend, especially when there's millions of dollars on the line. His take was simple and blunt. If there's big money involved, there's no hard feelings. It's just business. Max explained that fighters go at each other in the gym all the time for free. So if the same thing can be done on the biggest stage with a huge paycheck attached, why not? He said they could fight, make the money, then go out to dinner together and have a drink afterward. For him, that's what real friendship is, separating business from personal life. He even mentioned how other fighters like Rampage Jackson had similar mindsets. Max believes this is the fight game. You train with your friends, you test each other every day, and sometimes those moments just happen on a bigger platform. When the opportunity comes with millions at stake, you don't turn it down. This difference in perspective between Tom Aspinall and Max Holloway shows the contrasting ways fighters approach loyalty and legacy. Tom values the bond with his teammates so deeply that he'd give up the belt to avoid the matchup. Max sees it as a chance to secure the bag with a friend, turn it into a memorable moment, and walk away with no bitterness. Both perspectives are real, and both reflect the unique world of MMA, where business, competition, and friendship often collide. Moving on to another news, Alex Pereira believes Jon Jones is willing to fight him. Both fighters are currently 38 years old, and for Alex, this matchup needs to happen sooner rather than later. During a recent Q&A session, Alex spoke openly about the situation. He said he doesn't think Jon is just talking for attention because he's mentioned it before in interviews. Alex believes Jon truly wants this fight, but he also understands time isn't on their side. At this age, things move quickly, and in a sport like MMA, there isn't much time to waste. Alex made it clear that if Jon is interested, he'll be sincere about it. If not, that's something fans in the UFC will see soon enough. He explained that this sport doesn't allow delays, especially when both fighters are veterans of the game. Alex has always been direct in his interviews, reminding everyone that in MMA, you either lose or win. What matters to him is showing up, giving everything, and preparing at the highest level to walk out with the victory. He emphasized that results and records are not fully in his control. Fighters train, fight, and sacrifice, but sometimes decisions and validations are made by people outside the cage. Whether the world considers him the best, number 2, or last place, Alex says that part is not up to him. What he can control is how he performs inside the octagon. This potential matchup between Alex Pereira and Jon Jones is more than just a fight. It's a clash between two legends at the tail end of their careers. Both men have built incredible legacies, and a fight between them would be one of the most anticipated events in UFC history. Alex remains patient but focused, knowing that if the fight is going to happen, it needs to happen soon. He's ready to do his part, and now the ball is in Jon's court. Moving on to another news, Borralho has officially called out Robert Whittaker. Late last night on X, Borralho sent a direct message aimed at the former middleweight champion. He wrote, "I heard there's a card in Australia in February 2026. Robert Whittaker, what do you think about a dance in your hometown?" It was a bold and confident call-out, perfectly timed as the UFC looks to build another stacked card for the Australian fans. Borralho has been rising fast in the division, putting together impressive performances that have grabbed a lot of attention. A fight against someone like Whittaker would be the biggest opportunity of his career and a massive test to prove whether he truly belongs among the elite at middleweight. Whittaker, known for taking tough fights and never shying away from a challenge, could be the perfect opponent for Borralho to make a statement. With both fighters known for their high-level striking and calculated pressure, this potential matchup would have all the ingredients to be a fan favorite. The timing, location, and stakes make it even more intriguing. If this bout gets locked in for February, it could be one of the most talked-about middleweight clashes of the year. Moving on to another news, Alexander Volkanovski believes that Charles Oliveira would have struggled against Rafael Fiziev if their originally planned fight had gone ahead. While Oliveira did manage to get the win against Mateusz Gamrot on Saturday, Volkanovski explained in a recent video on his YouTube channel why that matchup was far more favorable for Charles compared to facing Fiziev. He said that turning around so quickly after a knockout win and jumping into a fight against someone like Fiziev would have been a dangerous move. Volkanovski pointed out that Gamrot was a better stylistic option for Oliveira. Gamrot relies heavily on grappling and pressure, which is something Charles could deal with comfortably, especially after having a full training camp. Fiziev, on the other hand, brings a very different kind of threat with his striking, speed, and ability to pressure aggressively. Volkanovski emphasized that Fiziev would have been good in the scrambles, would have found his shots, and would have forced Charles to truly test his chin in those exchanges. He made it clear that it would have been a rough fight for Oliveira if he had gone up against Fiziev under those conditions. After the event, Oliveira stayed true to his word and hosted a big party in his community back home. He celebrated with families in the favela, giving out food, gifts, and plenty of fun activities for the kids. It was another reminder of how much he values giving back to the people who have supported him since day one. Meanwhile, Gamrot, who came up short in the fight, broke his silence with a powerful message on Instagram. He wrote about the weight of the storm, the power of the wind, and how despite being knocked down, he refused to break. His words carried the message of resilience and heart, making it clear that this loss wouldn't define him. He promised to rise again stronger, reminding fans and fighters alike that defeat doesn't mean the end. Oliveira came out of the fight healthy and without major damage, which means fans could potentially see him back in the octagon sooner rather than later. Given how deep and dangerous the lightweight division is, there's no shortage of big fights waiting for him, and the Fiziev matchup could still be one of them down the line. Moving on to another news, a big shakeup has hit the upcoming UFC 322 card. The matchup between Sirhai City and Malcolm Wellmaker has been scrapped after City was forced to pull out due to a serious injury. This news was first reported by MMA Junkie's Nolan King, with City later confirming the unfortunate update through his Instagram. City shared a heartfelt message with fans, expressing how difficult the decision was. He wrote that it's heartbreaking to make this announcement, but he has no choice but to withdraw from his November 15th fight because of a brutal shoulder dislocation suffered during training. He apologized to his opponent, saying he was genuinely excited for the opportunity to step into the octagon at UFC 322. He added that he'll do everything possible to heal quickly and make a strong return. thanking everyone who supported him during this tough time. Unfortunately, he's not the only fighter forced out of an upcoming fight. Austin Bashi has also withdrawn from his scheduled November 8th clash with Jamal Emmers. In his own Instagram statement, Bashi explained that he's been dealing with an injury that hasn't allowed him to train properly and needs time to heal. After discussions with his team and medical staff, he made the smart decision to focus on recovery rather than rushing back too soon. He promised fans he'll be back stronger and thanked them for their continued support. With both fights affected, the UFC is now expected to look for short-notice replacements to keep the matchups alive. For Malcolm Wellmaker and Jamal Emmers, the promotion will likely move quickly to secure new opponents, so both fighters can stay active on the card. While injuries are an unfortunate part of the sport, both City and Bashi made it clear they're determined to return as soon as they can and make up for these missed opportunities. UFC 322 was shaping up to be a strong event, and despite these last-minute changes, fans can expect the organization to act fast and keep the lineup exciting. Moving on to another news, Gerald Meerschaert has made it clear that he will never doubt Khamzat again after witnessing his dominant performance against du Plessis. In a recent interview, Gerald admitted that he was genuinely surprised by the way the fight played out. He explained that going into the matchup, he thought du Plessis might shock people. Every time DDP had a fight, fans expected him to struggle, yet he always found a way to prove them wrong. Gerald said it wasn't personal against Khamzat. It was simply based on what he had seen in the past. He recalled moments where Khamzat had issues against tough welterweights, which made him lean toward du Plessis, possibly giving him real problems. But after seeing the way Khamzat handled the fight, the power, the control, and the composure, Gerald admitted there's no way he'll ever bet against him again. He pointed out that as dominant as Khamzat has been, some people still underestimated just how good he is until that performance. Gerald made it clear that moving forward, it's hard to picture any scenario where he would pick against Khamzat in a fight. He even joked that unless Khamzat stepped in against a real heavyweight, he'd still probably pick him to win. That's how much his opinion changed after witnessing the fight. Khamzat continues to build a reputation as one of the most dangerous fighters in the division. With each performance, the list of people willing to doubt him gets smaller. Gerald's reaction perfectly reflects how many in the fight community now view Khamzat as a serious problem for anyone standing across from him. Moving on to another news, Rampage Jackson got heated after being confronted on stream about his son Raja. The situation quickly escalated when someone brought up Raja's name, and Rampage didn't hold back his emotions. His tone shifted immediately as he demanded respect, making it clear that this was a line that shouldn't be crossed. He snapped back, saying, "Me, bro, have some respect. It's my son, bro." As the confrontation continued, Rampage's frustration grew. His voice got louder and he repeatedly told the person to back off. "No, no, 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 no," he said firmly, waving off any attempt to continue the conversation. Things got even more tense as he tried to keep his composure, but the pressure boiled over. "I'm not stupid, bro. Leave me the fuck alone, bro. I'm doing something else. Leave me the fuck alone. Please," he shouted, clearly upset. He then stepped forward and demanded, "Get out of my face. Please, respectfully, get out of my face." Rampage's reaction showed just how personal the subject is for him. He's been open in the past about protecting his family, and the moment anyone brings them up in a disrespectful or invasive way, he doesn't tolerate it. The tension hung heavy as the stream went quiet, leaving no doubt about how serious he was. Rampage Jackson made it clear that when it comes to his son, that topic is off limits. Moving on to another news, Sean Brady has officially accepted a fight against Michael Morales at UFC 322, and now he's explaining exactly why. On a recent episode of his podcast, Brady opened up about the decision to take this matchup despite being ranked number 2 in the welterweight division. Morales currently sits at number 8, but for Brady, the ranking difference doesn't matter. He knows that eventually, if he wants to stay at the top, he's gonna have to face guys like Morales anyway. Brady said whether he fights him now or later, it doesn't change the path ahead. He might as well get him out of the way right now. Coming off a huge win over Leon, Brady knows this next fight carries some risk, but it also comes with massive reward. Taking on a young and dangerous up-and-comer like Morales is a statement. If he beats him, he becomes undeniable for a title shot. That's the goal. He made it clear he's not waiting around for a perfect matchup because, in his words, there's no such thing in the UFC. Everyone's tough, everyone hits hard, and everyone is one of the best fighters in the world. Brady emphasized that he's not sitting on the sidelines. He's not interested in playing it safe or waiting for the perfect opponent. The UFC presented the fight, and he immediately said yes. That's his mentality.
If you want to be champion,
you have to fight whoever they put in front of you. When asked if he had any hard feelings about going from fighting higher-ranked opponents to someone ranked lower, Brady didn't hesitate. He said it doesn't bother him at all because, at the end of the day, the UFC doesn't care about the rankings. The rankings don't make the fights, the fans don't make the fights, the UFC makes the fights. He knows the system. If he goes out there, beats Morales, and continues to prove he's undeniable, they'll have no choice but to give him the title shot he's chasing. Brady also made it clear that fighting is who he is. If the title shot doesn't come right away, it won't break him. He's a fighter. He gets paid to fight. He loves to fight. That's why he's willing to step into the octagon with anyone. He's not going to complain or play politics. He's just going to keep winning until he gets what he wants. This mindset shows why Brady is one of the most dangerous fighters in the division. He's focused, motivated, and determined to keep proving himself, no matter who stands across the cage. For him, this fight isn't just about rankings or timing. It's about proving he belongs at the very top of the welterweight division.